Great. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to have you all here today. So glad that you could join us for this panel discussion featuring some of our current students in the Master of Science in Bioethics program at Harvard Medical School. And whether you're just starting your application or exploring the program, we hope this conversation basically gives you insight and what's like to be for part of our community. My name is Joni Bashansky, and I'm the Senior Associate Director of Education and a faculty member in the Center for Bioethics, and I'll be moderating this session today. We know that choosing a graduate program is a big decision, and hearing from students who have walked this path, currently walking this path, I should say, can be incredibly valuable. Today, our panelists are going to share their experience, why they chose this program, what they've learned, and how they see the future taking shape because what they've learned here. It's also an opportunity for you to get a sense of the academic environment, the online student community that exists, and opportunities available from this program. We will give you the chance to ask questions. We'll ask that you put them in the Q&A box, and feel free to put them in there as you hear things along the way. By chance, we don't get to answer all of your questions. If you reach out to us or you have new questions after we finish today, then just reach out to us and we'd be happy to get back to you. Before we dive into the questions, I'd like to ask each of our panelists, they're going to introduce themselves and by sharing their name, a little bit about their background, just a little. They all have great backgrounds and they're long. And basically why you chose to pursue a master's degree in bioethics. So Sam, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you. My name's Sam Scriven. I am the director, the market director of mission integration for Common Spirit in downtown Los Angeles. So I help oversee mission, spiritual care, ethics, community health for 6 hospitals in the LA area. And I've been in healthcare almost 20 years. The reason that I got into bioethics was because, well, one, I'm overseeing a lot of the bioethics, but there are not a lot of trained ethicists in healthcare. There's a lot of very well-intended professionals who are very thoughtful about the process of making hard decisions for patients and for the organization. But I felt like there was a need to offer some academic guidance for our organization in making those really tough decisions, whether that's for an individual patient or for these organizational decisions that have to be made that sometimes are really hard. So that's why I got into this, and I'm so delighted to have joined the Harvard community.
Great, thanks, Sam. Emily, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Joni. Nice to see everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Emily Pellegrini. I am a second-year student in the program, so finishing up this May. I'm an engineer by training, and my background is in neurorobotics. So I work for a medical device company called Medtronic, and we do neurosurgical device development. And the reason why I was interested in pursuing bioethics is because I noticed a need in the company that I work for more diverse perspectives and diverse populations of people being represented within the algorithms for the robotic software that we were developing. And I realized that there was a need to educate and to really champion narrative ethics and personal perspectives in medical device manufacturing work. And so that is what drew me to the program. I really loved my time here. I think that everybody has incredible, robust, and diverse backgrounds, and that was a real draw to the program for me. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Emily. Certainly medical device companies can definitely benefit many times from someone that has knowledge in bioethics. So Doug, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure, thank you. So, hi everyone, my name is Douglas Ford. I also go by Doug. I'm from New York City. I'm a second-year bioethics student, and I'm the founder and CEO of Chromie Health, which is an AI healthcare startup tackling the nursing labor shortage. I recently won Forbes 30 Under 30 a few months ago for healthcare, and I'm passionate about emerging technologies like AI and quantum computing and how to apply them ethically and safely in healthcare. And there's many reasons why I wanted to attend this program, primarily because I noticed how the technology and healthcare landscape was changing rather rapidly. And I wanted to learn how to apply everything I learned in this program to tackle pressing issues in an ethical and safe and responsible way. So I'm excited to be here today. It seems like just yesterday I was in your shoes. So it's a full circle moment, and I'm excited to discuss the program with everyone. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Doug. And Doug, why don't I ask you sort of our first question I'm going to share with everyone else, but what has been the most rewarding part of the program for you so far? If you could pick one.
That's such a difficult question right off the bat. I love it. I would say meeting everybody. The student body is so incredibly diverse. I mean, we have attorneys, clinicians, nurses, tech founders. So really meeting everybody and hearing everybody's background, and just hearing their story, where they came from, and hearing such a diverse group of opinions and discussions in class has really been the highlight for me. And honestly, having friends now all over the entire world is an experience that you wouldn't be able to get anywhere else. I have friends across the United States, the Philippines, Europe. So having new places to go see and explore and meet everybody in the program and connect with them has been easily the most rewarding experience.
That's nice. And Sam from California, far away, right? So what is your take on what's been most rewarding for you? Perhaps something different than Doug.
Well, that's tough because the relational aspect of my work has always been the most important. So as Doug said, those connections with people matter a lot. And this is one of those programs I guess I thought when I got into Harvard, it was just going to be all papers, exams, and reading. And this program really amplifies the value of the conversation and the dialogue. So yes, there's a lot of reading and there's writing to do, and the grading is going to measure the quality of work that you're doing, um, but they really valued the collaborative spirit that's required to be a good ethicist. So the classes, I believe, represent that priority. You shouldn't be ever alone in making an ethical decision, and it feels like the program does a great job of recognizing both in the learning process and in I can't tell you how many WhatsApps groups I have right now of different people and different classes and different groups trying to address different problems, including just personal life stuff. And that builds this really robust community, and that's been really valuable. On a side note here, the readings are absolutely phenomenal. I have never been in school where everyone is doing their reading. So the conversations are incredibly valuable to me, given that everyone's really invested in the learning process.
Well, everyone that comes is certainly here for a reason. They're investing, certainly not just financially, they're investing in themselves. And it sounds like, and you're investing in each other. And that's a very special thing that can happen from this, as well as along certainly with the overall community and the faculty, but that you can create a community as you've just described. Emily, let's take it in a little bit of a different way. And Sam sort of started on it, but how does the curriculum challenge or expand your thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jody. Well, I would say that there's an incredible amount of energy that comes from the people in the program, and a drive to push ourselves into new ways of thinking. And so I think particularly with something like neuroscience, there's a lot of new work in the field that's being done right now that is really challenging long-held conceptions of the self and of our individual relationship to our societies and our communities. So what I would say is that I came into the program really kind of laser focused on my own niche and really comfortable in my background. But what this program has done is really pushed me to consider not only my role as an individual and in the work that I do, but also how my work is relating to the careers and the mindsets and the narratives of people in the community around me. Thanks.
That's great. Doug, you're shaking your head. And so how has the curriculum, really challenged you and expanded your thinking in a sense, taking you, certainly AI is a big thing and everything that you're working on, with your company, but where is it now sort of maybe pushed you out a little bit further in the way in which you're looking at things?
It's so funny. I entered the program a completely different person than I am today because the program, allowed me to step out my comfort zone and really take classes that I never would have thought of taking before. And so also it introduced me into new emerging technologies. Something I'm working on my capstone project now is quantum computing in healthcare. And I believe that's going to be the next AI, the next frontier in 5 to 10 years. So really having an early access into this new and emerging technology has been such a rewarding experience. And, I'm so grateful for all the classes and the professors and everybody that I've been able to learn alongside with throughout this journey.
That's great. Sam, Doug just mentioned professors, but can you describe a course or a professor that has really had a significant impact on you? You don't have to name names, of course, but maybe the course.
Yeah, the courses are all very good. I've been thoroughly impressed with the quality of education I'm receiving in every class. I've had a few classes. The foundations class, of course, is fantastic. The lectures are good, the conversations are good, and it just gives a nice cornerstone to the education you need for everything else. The classes that stand out for me, that I find myself going back to constantly, I think Dr. Boyd's on this class, and then Dr. Tidingfong, and I can't remember the other woman's name at the moment, but the healthcare advocacy or bioethics advocacy and environmental bioethics. Those two, I find myself coming back to constantly because as Douglas mentioned, this frontier of ethics and quantum computing. I am not an engineer or a computer person, so forgive me there. But I am constantly looking at the environment and how that's impacting our communities. I work in downtown LA, where kids are growing up with their best play area being in an alley where the dumpster is. And so taking that course from environmental ethics and then what Dr. Boyd talks about with healthcare bioethics advocacy, and trying to meld those together to find a way to bring green space to downtown LA, or to figure out how to donate palm branches to an organization since they don't biodegrade very easily. So just as Emily said, you become very aware of your help, your professional field of focus. But then you start talking to other people and realizing, oh my gosh, I've had such a narrow vision of how bioethics can impact the world around me. Those are two classes that stand out tremendously for me.
Yeah. Emily, did you take either one of those classes?
I did not. I have a couple other classes that sit out in my mind, but I will pause there to see if we want to take it in a different
Yeah.
time.
Why don't you share what
Sure,
is
sure.
significant classes that you've taken?
Yeah, so I actually took an animal ethics course, which I had no background in veterinary medicine, but Lisa Moses is fantastic and just really opened my eyes to not only, the field of animal medicine, but also the way in which it can kind of bleed over into other domains of life. Like how does that play out in clinical trials? What does it look like in terms of an environmental perspective with our resource consumption? So I would say animal ethics was fantastic. I also took a neuroethics course with Toss Cochran. So he is my mentor now for my capstone, but that really helped push me to think about the ways in which we consider life. His work is particularly in brain death patients. So there was a lot of moral considerations to go into the care of that group of people as well. But what I would say is that there is a wonderful trove of courses that you can select from, and they are rotating. And so if you can't take one semester, it might come up in another term. And there are just a ton of incredible options. And as Sam and Doug have mentioned, the student body is an incredible resource as well. So I tend to turn to peers to kind of canvas them and see what they're interested in taking as well. Thanks.
It's actually one of the advantages of being in a 2-year part-time program, because the electives do rotate, so that they might come, if they weren't offered the first year, then most likely they'd be offered the second. And you highlight courses that are very important, relevant to today's world. And that's something that we consistently try to do for our program, to make sure that we have new types of courses. And animal ethics is one, environmental ethics, when you think about it, and when you think about what we read, certainly advocacy and such. Doug, any other course you want to add to the list here?
There's so many, but yeah, bioethics advocacy with Dr. J. Wesley Boyd was fantastic. I mean, and another thing that makes these courses so remarkable is that they're very current. So in the last 2 years, I was just thinking, we had the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO, the rise of AI, and the overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2 years. And every single course was able to adapt and change, even the courses that have been in this program for, over a decade. So I really appreciate the fact that all the courses are relevant, not just the new courses that are added, but also the courses that have been here as a staple of the program. So bioethics advocacy was remarkable.
Yeah, it's a very popular course, and over 40 people seem to register in one semester, and we typically don't cap it, and that's per the request of the leader, Wes Boyd. So yeah, we're always trying to make sure that every semester, every year, the course content is updated, and that's because of the faculty and their commitment to making sure that that's exactly what takes place for all of the courses. There's a little bit of talking about opportunities for interdisciplinary study. And Sam, you sort of highlighted that. Can you expand on that at all, as far as where that takes you now going back into your work world and such, but from an interdisciplinary perspective?
Yeah, thank you. My capstone is on developing an organizational ethics committee in a healthcare setting. And one of the things I've appreciated, as I mentioned earlier, is the necessity to collaborate in making difficult decisions. And anytime I see or hear about a difficult decision, all my flags go up that we're in an ethical dilemma. Even if I can't name what the ethical dilemma is, if it's hard and it's emotionally charged, it's probably ethical. And so one of the things I've appreciated about this capstone project is recognizing that, we need to expand the volume of people we're actually talking to come to a solution that in many ways does the least harm and is most beneficial to the community that we're serving. So we're expanding to including our environmental, our EVS department and dietary to some patient ethics concerns. They have a significant voice, and so we're trying to figure out how to bring more voices into it. If you're in healthcare, we're also bringing in community members to a lot of our discussions now. And we're trying to figure out how do we appropriately educate each of those folks in these like 5, 10, 15-minute windows that we have to help them recognize where their biases are. A lot of the facilitator's job is to name those biases and then to find a way to use those professional perspectives and emotional perspectives to help guide the conversation. But it does require a lot of time, effort, and I would say a very skilled facilitator to help continue moving the discussion towards a solution, which is where I'm finding this program to be really, really helpful for me, is to be a facilitator who can guide emotionally charged conversations to a solution where people feel confident that the process had integrity.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Emily, with your capstone and working with Toss Cochran and who is a neurologist and working on neuroethics and such, what other interdisciplinary aspects have you been able to bring into your capstone or your studies overall?
Yeah, thanks, Joni. So I think that neuroethics is concerned, with the ethical and legal and really too social policy implications of neuroscience. And as an individual without a law background, this is something that I've really kind of leaned into and kind of capitalized on my mentor and the relationships that he has within his community. I mean, when we think about something, Doug can probably speak to this, but artificial intelligence, what are the policy implications of that? And how does that play out on a macro level, systemically, not only down to the individual patient? So I think being able to be connected in a way that helps me leverage, I guess, other domains that I don't have expertise in has been a really incredible feature of the program. Thanks.
That's great. And Doug, you already mentioned, AI and quantum computing of certainly stretching what you initially thought, perhaps when you came here. Just make another little comment about that. Quantum computing is the future, it seems.
Absolutely. And it's funny, when I first started this program, I was very, one-sided. I said, tech's the future, it can do no wrong. And then after taking these courses and hearing both sides of the argument in favor and support of AI in medicine, I quickly learned that there are some challenges that the AI and tech community need to address in healthcare, protecting patient data and security and privacy. And it's interesting, those challenges also overlap with quantum computing. So for my capstone project, we're currently exploring the challenges of quantum computing in healthcare. And then another thing is I took the environmental ethics course with Sam last year, coincidentally, right when the wildfires in New York City were occurring. So how more relevant of a course to take? And after the conclusion of that course, I learned everything in that course and I was able to apply it to my capstone project, the environmental impact of quantum computing. So it's been a remarkable experience to study these things and also have this program change me in a way, both professionally and personally, that I never could have imagined before starting.
No, that's great. And so we've really touched upon the your academic and program experience, and thanks for sharing. Let's shift a little. And although you all alluded to the fact that you collaborate as that you all are knowing each other, getting to know different students and such, but what is the student community like? How do students really collaborate or engage with one another? This is an online program. Everyone always wants to know that. Does it really happen? But how do you make it happen? And Emily, do you want to start on that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Joni. I think the student body here is one of the most intelligent and thoughtful communities of people I've ever encountered. And I think that's really a huge draw of the program for me, not only the material, but also the people. And I would say that a unique asset of this program is that it is remote, this flavor of it. And there are people who are joining from all over the world. And that means sometimes people will call in from class and it's 2 a.m. where they're at, but there's always somebody available, even in your corner of the world, if it's late and you have a burning question that you need help with, like an ethical consult. We have a lot of physicians in our program. So our WhatsApp chat, as Sam was mentioning earlier, that's active all times of the day, which I think is really cool. The other thing I would say too is that we do have a group of people I think that are well established or well known in their careers, and they're often moving, they're often traveling. So there are opportunities if you're maybe traveling as well to link up with those people. So for example, one of my friends in the program, she's in Chicago and I had a business trip in Chicago, and we ended up being able to get together then. So there are opportunities, I would say, even if at first blush it doesn't look like you would be able to get the face-to-face interaction, you will find that it is a very heartfelt and close group of people. and that you end up being able to interact with them in person, whether it's through travel for business or conferences, university events. I think that there is a really nice blend here between virtual FaceTime and also in-person FaceTime as well. Thanks.
No, thanks. And I'm glad that you mentioned sort of extracurricular, sort of professional things that occur. We host many of those events, and not just we at the center, but across Harvard, and many things are virtual. Doug, have you had an opportunity to take advantage of those things, and can you give some examples of what you've been able to join from a remote place?
Sure, absolutely. So admittedly, that was a concern of mine during the application process. Even though it's virtual, are we going to have the opportunity to network, to meet up with people in person and virtually? And that, concern of mine quickly went away, honestly, within the first week, just seeing how collaborative rather than competitive the program is and the student body. So there's tons of virtual workshops that are all completely free and you're able to attend within the program, which I love. I sign up for every single one of them, from thesis statement constructions to there's another one coming up in a few weeks all about the AI in medicine. So there's tons of virtual workshops that you're easily able to attend. But there's also in-person workshops, which is amazing. Being a full Harvard student, you are able to explore the campus and attend in-person workshops, and we constantly meet up with professors. So it's an amazing opportunity. And if anybody has that concern, I can assure you, don't worry. That will not be a challenge or issue at all.
Right. And I'll just highlight the fact that during the winter term, J term, we do allow all the virtual students to be able to come to campus and take classes in person. Not everyone does that, but it's certainly something that is available to anyone who is in the program. And we like to think of the entire program as you are members of the Harvard community, that we really want to treat you the way we would treat any Harvard student. And so we, as a center, as a university, really try to work hard to make sure that you feel included. And it's great to hear that you do feel that way. Sam, I don't know if there's anything you want to add as far as any professional extracurricular things you've attained, or comment. You commented initially on the chat. Emily kind of followed up on that. And I will say that I know there's a lot of chat groups out there. And so, which is great. And I think as faculty and as the leadership here within the center, sometimes we think like, do they really communicate all the time? And we know that you do. And many times we don't meet you until graduation, but we know you're like best friends with each other. So, so it really does happen. But Sam, any further comment on that?
The only thing I'll add to this is that the people who are applying for this program in general are probably people who care deeply about doing the right thing. There's already this internal motivation to do the right thing. And so there's this strange, and maybe it's not strange, but there's this common thread that I see in all the classes of a high volume of humility in all the people in the classes. And for me, that is a central personality trait that draws me to others, because they want to hear the voices of others. They want to be influenced by the person across from them. I've often said I'm a terrible TikToker because I feel like I couldn't influence anyone, but I love scrolling and to be influenced. And so Doug's done a great job of describing how he's a different person because of the relationships, because of the professors, because of the environment and the learning atmosphere. This is for me in a religious work, is a very transformational, formational experience. And I know Emily and Doug would clearly agree that we are very different than we were a year and a half ago. So lucky to have transformed in a meaningful way.
It's beautiful to hear that. And, we're really, it happens. This is what we hope for you in many ways, certainly to be able to know that you feel like you're part of a community and that you're supported and that you've grown through the knowledge you gain, but through the experiences you have and through the other people that you meet. It's all together, all compiled together. So I've maybe some specific questions in a sense for each of you. But Doug, why don't we start with you? You know, and you alluded to some of this, so maybe you can take it off in another direction, but how the time in the program maybe has guided your company, and have you had to deal with any ethical changes in your company? And not disclosing anything that you don't want to disclose to us, obviously, but perhaps there's something you can share.
Sure, absolutely. So I originally wanted to do everything with the company. I wanted to create the new Epic, and I realized that was just a little bit too much of a challenge. But after taking foundations, I was really able to understand the legal aspects of HIPAA and how we can navigate that as a startup in a safe, ethically, and responsible way. Because the last thing hospitals want is another startup collecting all their patient data. So by doing that, we actually found tremendous success by completely desensitizing all patient information, which has been incredible for the startup's growth. And so I would say absolutely, there are as many ethical challenges that we originally faced, and this program helped to minimize the challenges in a really remarkable and profound way. So I would say absolutely. It's seemingly every day that I apply something I've learned in this program, whether it was from a course I'm in now or a course I've taken now 2 years ago. So absolutely, I would say.
No, it's great when you are in a class, and I think that's an advantage also to the online program. You're working professionals that you're learning something that you can take back on a regular basis, and not only take back, but also you have a perspective and experience that you can give to the program as well. And we know that that's what happens in this virtual online world that you're all part of. Sam, you mentioned a little of how it happened, certainly some major changes in a sense within your company, but developing processes and enhancing patient quality of life. Can you elaborate on that maybe a little bit more? I think the audience would like to hear some more specifics on that.
Yeah, now that I've been promoted during this time. I was over one hospital, and then I was promoted into a market role. And interestingly, during the program, I started to have a mantra that ethics is everywhere and all the time. And so I just started noticing it everywhere. And so when I ended up in this market role, I started to be in discussions and around everything from reductions in force, service line changes, divestitures, purchases, and part of my job is to sit with executive leaders and be an influential voice. So I know I said I was bad at TikToks, but part of my whole job is to be an influence in a room, to guide conversations when the conversation may not be representative of our mission and values. So our mission and values I find to be right in alignment with ethics. And so that's part of my work. And so I've had to apply this very realistically in sometimes much larger discussions around impacting an entire department and not just looking at an individual patient. Those have been hard conversations because money and economics and healthcare changes. We're talking about Epic, and we're not on Epic yet, Doug. So in California, we have earthquakes, and more than half of our hospitals, actually, I think 3/4 of our hospitals need their foundations to be redone. We're talking about billions of dollars to make our hospitals safe. How do we make these decisions? And part of my role is to be involved in those discussions.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam. And, and Emily, you kind of already addressed that. So I'm going to ask another question of you, if that's okay. And maybe some of the biggest challenges, and I might have you all weigh in on this with the program, sort of the online format, but really, work-life balance. What are the challenges there, and how do you make those all work together?
Yeah, thanks so much, Joni. Yeah, I've seen a couple of questions in the Q&A
Yeah.
about like balance. So
About that. Yeah, I went to the Q&A and I thought, like, we better get to that question.
sure, of course. I think so. First, I think it's an excellent question. think there's a little bit of a learning curve. I mean, there's just so many resources when you get into the program. One of the things that I talked about with my advisor in the beginning was there are all these webinars, workshops, opportunities. I also have a family, so how do I balance that? I work full time, how do I balance that? So I think it's just been a process of learning how to hold down where my interests really lie and saying no to some things, honestly. I did have to work with my company when I first, applied and got into the program to really think about how are we going to make this work within my 9 to 5. Thankfully, now I will say I'm on the East Coast, so I'm calling in for North Carolina. Most of the classes I will say do start after my working hours end. So, they could start at, 6 and go to 9. Sometimes they go later, 7 to 10. So I kind of work around that in the evenings. Most of the time, and I saw this in the chat as well, the classes are live. We try to have video cameras on, but there are multiple people in the program that do have families, young children. We absolutely all understand if somebody needs to take a pause or turn their camera off or do bedtime or something like that. So I do feel like everybody is very understanding of that. Thanks.
Sam, what about the West Coast and joining classes at certain times?
Yeah, I have a 7 and a 10-year-old. I coach baseball. I help with ballet. I'm in this class. I have to travel for work. The program is definitely doable with all those obligations and responsibilities. It's definitely doable. Emily said it well. There's a bit of a learning curve. I had been out of education for 15, close to 20 years and had forgotten what it was like to, I think Doug mentioned the thesis class. Those are things that I haven't had to write and do in a long time. So there's a learning curve to it. Very doable. I did have to work with my organization to make sure that they would give me space to take classes during work time. So I have classes sometimes at 2 o'clock or in the morning. It might go into my 8 a.m. window of work and those initial meetings. But the Dignity Health out here has been very supportive in saying, we know you're applying this to the work. We're going to give you that space to do that. So there's some negotiating with my market and making sure they know I'm comfortable here. Within 6 months, they did start applying my education before I had gotten there, and they started calling me the bioethicist and all these things. And I'm like, oh, I'm only 6 months in, everyone. So hang tight. But it is doable. Someone mentioned the challenge, and I would say the biggest challenge has simply been negotiating all the family responsibilities and recognizing that I committed to 2 years to be a little tired. And I am a little tired a lot. More than I was 2 years ago, but it goes so fast, and every minute has been so valuable.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, it is a matter of being organized, right? And making sure everyone knows, and you have to give up some things sometimes too, right? You can't do everything sometimes. So again, or you have to be tired. Sam, I do want to say congratulations on your promotion, because I think that that's something people don't realize once they're in the program as well, that you don't have to wait until you graduate to be promoted or to even go look for another job, because you're gaining knowledge all along the way. You're having different experiences. And many times people think they have to wait until they graduate, but you don't necessarily have to do that. So I just like to point that out to everyone. Yeah, and maybe as far as I think we had another question in the chat about the capstone advisor and how the advisor has helped. I think we've alluded to that in some ways as far as making connections for you. Doug, can you comment on that? Because you needed some connections to some outside places. How has that worked with your advisor?
It's been amazing. My advisor is Dr. J. Wesley Boyd. We refer to him as Wes, and he has just been spectacular. I mean, 10 out of 10. He's always made himself available when I have questions or ideas. He's very understanding in the beginning of the process when I wanted to do one thing and then maybe pivot after I took a new and exciting course like environmental ethics. So it's been remarkable. He's given me professional advice, life advice, career advice. And also, we not only have a capstone advisor, but we also have a capstone seminar leader. So we meet with them every week, and it's a very small class size of about 5 to 6. I just met with my group last night, and it's a remarkable experience to be able to discuss our passions, practice our elevator pitch. And I mean, we laugh, we cry, we have such a great time in these nice, fruitful discussions. So it's been remarkable to have these connections that not only my advisor Wes has made, but my capstone seminar leader, David Sontag. So it's been a spectacular journey through and through.
That's nice. Sam, Emily, either one of you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, I can take this. Thanks, Joni. Yeah, so my mentor, Toss, as I had mentioned before, I took his neuroethics course. I already had a little bit of familiarity with the way in which he teaches and just thinks about the world. And I will say, well, let me take a step back. When we're talking about capstone, we mean that we are taking the work that we've done, whether it's over a year, 2 years, 3 years, the program is offered in all of those formats. And we pick a topic that we really care about, and then we do a project about it. And at the end of the program, we have a symposium where we have posters, we present our research, and you can use it to delve into a domain that you are already familiar with, or maybe you choose to take it in another direction and you learn about something that you hadn't thought about before. So that's what we're talking about when we say capstone. And then the second thing I would say is that the program does offer guardrails to help match you with a mentor if you don't already have somebody in mind. There's a survey that you take before you go into the course, and you kind of talk about your interests, and then the faculty do an excellent job of matching if you don't have somebody in mind already, but if you do, they are certainly open to letting you work within the relationships that you've already formed as well. Thanks.
Great. That's good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think, Sam, would there be anything that you would add to that? Either what Doug said or Emily said?
You end up just being very close with the folks in these groups. I'm always amazed at how small the groups can become. And I took classes with everyone in my, this is for the capstone, in my capstone small group. I took classes with everyone for the last 2 years. So we know each other. We've been in discussions, and I think about, I'm sure, that, when you're a kid and you think, oh, my dad can beat up your dad at school. I feel like there's a lot of pride with all of our mentors that they're the best mentor. They're the best dad or mom and parent for us to guide us through this. I've had similar experiences, feeling more mentored than being like a student, getting that professional collegial work, but also just asking how my kids were doing. I'm in Pasadena, Altadena, so all the neighborhoods around me have burned down in the last few weeks, and so a lot of our conversations were around how's that impacting your family and your life. That's, I'm feeling a little emotional right now talking about it because it's meant a lot to have people care so deeply.
Yeah, it truly is a community. As one of the key directors of the capstone program, and I've led seminars in the past and such, that I too can attest to that the students, you get to know them so well, and I still keep in touch with the different groups of students that I had. And since it is so small, you really do get to know so many things about each other, and genuine caring, which is really lovely to see from a faculty perspective, but also knowing that you can contribute and everyone really is happy to be in that specific area. And I think that one of the things I will say is that we always intend to keep that group very small, the seminars, so that it really can address the different areas that you don't get from doing the actual work as part of your capstone. So I think that's great. One of the things that where Jesse's answering some of the questions just right in the chat, because we won't really address those. And I'll just say that I know as far as having, papers and quizzes, not a lot of not a lot of quizzes, there's a lot of papers. I have to be careful what I say. It's reading and writing, and you keep up with it. And Sam, I think it was you that said this, that everyone reads everything, and again, it's the investment in the program, it's the investment in the courses, the investment in each other, and an investment in yourself. So you're going to make sure that you do read everything, because that's the way that you learn and that you can contribute. And I think all of you are in the 2-year program, is that correct? 2-year, yeah. But we do have a 3-year program. I know someone asked that question, and yeah, we have that. But I think it just stretches some things out as far as that goes. Let's answer just a couple other questions, and I think actually I'll go to I think we've answered really all the questions in our chat. I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and maybe this answers can be somewhat brief. So Sam, you've already gotten a promotion. How do you see this degree contributing further to your career goals?
Healthcare is constantly changing. Right now, there are only maybe 3-4 full-time ethicists for all of Common Spirit, and we're the largest Catholic healthcare organization in the country. That does not sound like enough ethicists to help guide 150,000+ employee company. So I see this program setting me up to probably be more invested professionally and responsibly for the ethics landscape in Southern California, and contribute to the larger California region.
Yeah. Okay. Doug, want to address that as well? So where's it really going to ultimately take you?
Sure, absolutely. So again, I've learned so much in this program, from legal to healthcare to technology. And it's helped me in so many other ways professionally. A few months ago, I won Forbes 30 under 30. The New York Times says that's the Oscars for corporate Gen Z. I said that is just a perfect analogy. And I truly believe I primarily won that because of this program, not just what I learned in this program to help grow my startup, but also the mentors, the professors that encouraged me to apply, and everything I've learned in my startup, and also who said, there's nothing too big that you can't achieve. And so I truly believe that. And I really feel like there's just so much more to come even after the program concludes. And it's remarkable to think of all the achievements that Emily, Sam, and I have had, and we're not even done. We're not even done yet, which is just wild to think. So I'm just truly grateful for everything I've learned and how much this program has really helped me to grow professionally and personally.
Emily, next career goal that you might have as a result of getting this degree in the end?
Yeah, thanks, Joni. So the company I work for, Medtronic, does have a corporate ethics and compliance office, and that's a space that I can really see myself gravitating towards. I think that a lot of people in the industry right now, in the surgical robotics industry, are really trying to be forward thinking with how we infuse ethics in our everyday work. So I can see myself going in that direction. I would say personally too, I think this is a great springboard to help us develop our own voices and add them into our communities. So after graduation, my research that I was doing for the capstone that we have been talking about was accepted for a presentation at a clinical ethics conference in Switzerland. So I'll be headed right off to Switzerland after graduation, which is exciting. But I think just really trying to continue to use our voices, not only within our professional lines of work, but also out in the world and in our community as well. It's really important. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think one of the questions addressed, the role of biotech, or even I like to say biopharma, or research in general, whether it's medical device or other types of industries associated with this. We really have tried to reach out and you could say market our program so that people come from all walks of life to this program, not someone that has, studied humanities only, but many people do study humanities and come to this program through many religious programs, medical, healthcare degrees come to this program as well. And I think that we continuously try to say that this is relevant to a broader sense. I look back to the pandemic, and everyone now knows the word ethics, maybe even bioethics, that never knew that word before as a result of all the things that one's learned through the pandemic. So it really has, I don't want to say elevated, but bioethics has risen in its prominence in many ways. And so I think that everyone has an ethics department. At least today they have an ethics department, and hopefully that will be something that will continue. So we're almost to the close, and I do have one final question, and it's only one, you can only give one, but if you had one piece of advice to an incoming student, what would that be? And Doug, you want to go first?
Sure,
One
thank
piece
you.
of advice.
I would say step outside your comfort zone, step outside your comfort zone and explore new interests, because as Sam alluded to, it goes by so fast. So enjoy every moment, but step outside your comfort zone, definitely.
Sam?
I would say there's nothing more important than coming to this program with humility. That will alter probably your entire future. If you can come with humility and recognize I didn't have it right. I still don't have it right. And it's making me ready to hear more voices into the future to hopefully make an impact to improve the communities around me.
Great, thank you. Emily, last word.
Yeah, thanks, Joni. Well, in addition to the wonderful advice that Sam and Doug have given, which I absolutely agree with, the last parting word that I would leave you with is to trust yourself and trust your story. You have already done so much of the work to be able to get to a point where you're able to learn and grow and share your experiences. And I think for those of you in the audience, when you're considering this program, just take comfort in the fact that even though it can be a daunting process and it can be overwhelming, you already bring so much to the table just because of the individual that you are. So really lean into that when you're thinking about applying, and just know that you do have a voice, and this is hopefully going to be a platform where you can continue to share that, but you really have already done so much incredibly hard work to get to the person that you are now. So really just to trust yourself and lean into that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Doug, for sharing really some very insightful findings, beautiful thoughts. Really, we so appreciate you taking the time to join me today. And I want to thank our audience, all the participants who have been listening. And I hope we've answered your questions. And if you do have more questions as time goes on, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are always willing to chat with you one-on-one. And again, thank you all for coming today. And we look forward to reviewing all of your applications. So thanks again, everyone, and have a good rest of your day. Bye now.